Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You'll get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they earn success in their careers. Along the way, we'll touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights CSIA members bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Pete Atkin, Vice President and General Manager of Samsara Industrial, which is based in San Francisco. In this role, he is responsible for leading Samsara Industrial's business, helping customers unlock the power of data through easy-to-deploy and easy-to-manage cloud-connected sensors, controllers, and software. Previously, Pete spent 7 years at Meraki, where he built a successful channel team before going on to lead a 700-person organization as VP of Worldwide Sales. If that wasn't enough, Pete also helped grow Meraki from less than $100 million per year to nearly $2 billion. Pete, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Why don't you start by talking a little bit about how you landed where you are today?
As GM for the industrial business at Samsara, I have responsibility for both our product development and all of our go-to-market activities. But it's certainly been a bit of a winding path to get here. I spent a number of years early in my career as a management consultant, working with a lot of large industrial companies on topics like energy efficiency, sustainability, big focus on smart grid technologies, clean buildings, efficient vehicles. Focus was always on helping them improve their bottom line through better efficiency. And I think in consulting, you quickly learn that everything starts and ends with the customer. So that philosophy has really stayed with me. When it comes to customers, if you're not really delivering value with every product and really solving an acute set of pain points, you're not going to stick around for very long. So after that, as you mentioned, I spent 7 years helping to build a company called Meraki, which was one of the first companies that brought cloud management to the IT and networking space. So we built out a suite of cloud managed networking products. And I spent a good portion of that time on our go-to-market activities. So building out a channel program, everything from channel sales to technical certification for our partners, co-marketing, and then leading sales globally after that. When I joined Samsara, the idea of putting both of those worlds together was really compelling. This idea of how do we help bring technology to industrial customers to really enable better efficiency across their operations. So I'm pretty excited about that piece. You know, we're bringing cutting edge technology to customers across the industrial landscape.
What is the biggest benefit of CSIA membership for Samsara?
So we spend a lot of time with customers getting feedback and iterating quickly based on what we're hearing directly from customers. We also do that with partners and systems integrators because of the reach that all of our systems integrator partners have across so many different deployments. That feedback is just incredibly valuable to us. So CSIA has been the primary hub for us to hear and sort of understand the voice of the integrator. Not only does CSIA give us a good channel to engage with really high quality systems integrators individually, but it also does a really good job of hosting events, curating resources that sort of capture that collective voice, and helps us keep a really good pulse on the market.
Why did Samsara become a member of CSIA?
I guess from a tactical perspective, it's just a great platform for us to engage with the system integrators that will be deploying our technology to customers. And we know that those systems integrators are crucial to the industrial automation market. And they're crucial to bringing new technologies to these customers. So when we first started working with integrators, spent a lot of time just asking them directly what industry organizations are most important to, for you, which industry organization should we be a part of? Where do you see us getting the best, the best value and the best insights? And CSIA came up every time we asked that question. We also see a lot of our integrator partners sort of proudly showing off their CSIA certification badges, documents, any marketing materials and so on. So we knew this was the right network to be a part of as soon as we started.
What kinds of trends and challenges are you seeing in industrial automation right now?
It's a fascinating time within industrial automation right now. It's sort of an industry that's on the cusp of a lot of major changes based on some pretty big shifts in the underlying technology that's available. So we really see three major trends that have evolved over the past decade that we see as the foundation for this change. And these open up just huge opportunities for our customers as well as systems integrators. So the first one is this dramatic increase in cellular coverage and about a 40x decrease in cost. That just means that many more assets and devices can be connected, far fewer bandwidth constraints than in the past. So that's the first one. The second one is dramatic increases in compute power that mean edge analytics, AI, and sort of edge compute is much more attainable for customers and partners than it used to be. And that opens up a whole bunch of new optimization technologies in industrial deployments. And then finally, the cost of camera technology has also come down dramatically, making that available for a wide range of applications that used to be cost prohibitive. So if you combine those three trends, very cheap cellular bandwidth, edge compute, much more affordable camera technology, and you combine that with the advances in cloud technology and cloud management, suddenly you have a whole new sort of foundational set of technologies that make automation more simple, make it much easier to get data, and make it much easier to sort of analyze and act on that data across an operation.
What about challenges?
Yeah, there's no shortage of challenges, certainly. I think as we've gotten into this space, the challenges that we see pretty commonly, the first one is just connecting thousands of legacy devices. All the compute power in the world doesn't help if you can't actually get your operational data off your assets. Figuring out simple, cost-effective ways to easily connect this whole plethora of devices out there is critical. Second, we've seen a lot of challenges around people having what they consider to be data silos. I think the biggest concern a lot of customers have with industrial IoT is ending up with a lot of different applications, each with their own siloed data. So being able to figure out how to deploy open platforms that have modern APIs and allow you to sort of integrate that data across a number of different services is critical and has been a big challenge for a lot of folks. And then, I think one that sort of started this for us is everybody has some form of control system out there, but actually getting business relevant data out of that control system is very difficult. A lot of these control systems were purposely built to be locked down and inaccessible for security reasons. And now everybody's realized that there's a competitive advantage in getting your operational data and improving efficiency based on what you're seeing. But these legacy systems make that very hard to do. A lot of these just end up coming down to industrial customers have the ability to improve their operations with better data and better insights. But that data has been really hard to get and really hard to use for most customers so far.
How has Samsara grown or changed in the past year? And what do you expect for your company in the next 12 to 24 months?
So Samsara has been going through just dramatic growth. It's a company that was founded just a little over 4 years ago and has grown to over 1,500 people in that time frame. And I think that's due to customer demand for connected operations is really fueling that growth. And it's these new technologies that I mentioned. Within the industrial team, we've launched a handful of new products in the last year. Cloud-managed PLC for remote operations, flexible cloud-based dashboarding and alerting feature set, and a smart camera for automated quality control and manufacturing. So these are all new products that we've brought to market in the past year, and we're investing really heavily in building out these platforms. And based on customer feedback and partner feedback, adding features and functionality to them continuously. So over the next year, our plan is to roughly double in size. So there's going to be, a lot of additional R&D investment and a lot of new sort of features and products that we continue to bring out. But one thing that won't change is the fact that we spend a lot of time very hands-on with customers and partners, visiting manufacturing sites, visiting utility sites out on oil wells, because the way that we bring products to market is very collaborative with our customers. We depend on that feedback, and we learn a lot continuously from customers and partners. So regardless of the pace at which we grow, that part of the way we operate is always going to stay the same.
You mentioned that you guys are planning to double in size. You've already had extreme growth, rapid growth the past 4 years. So I imagine scaling up is kind of challenging, particularly when we hear so much about folks having trouble recruiting talent. That been something that you faced? And if so, how have you addressed that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The managing rapid growth is a real challenge. And we spend a lot of time on recruiting, making sure that we're attracting the right talent and that we can bring the right folks onto the team. And then also a lot of time on training and onboarding. And this goes for all functions, whether it's, engineering or go-to-market functions. So there's no silver bullet to that, but a huge investment of time goes into sort of attracting and recruiting great folks to our team. I think we have an advantage, or we're in a good spot because there's a lot of interest in the technologies that we're working on. And at least personally for me, I find this to be a really exciting space to be in terms of the intersection of modern Silicon Valley technology and industrial controls and industrial deployments. So I think that's helping us attract people from sort of across the spectrum of coming from the automation market or coming from sort of the Silicon Valley technology market.
All right. Well, staying with this idea of challenges, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge facing the automation marketplace today and in the future?
I think by far the biggest challenge is just complexity and the challenge of connecting a whole broad range of older pieces of equipment and trying to get useful information out of that. Lots of systems out there that don't work well together, a lot of different protocols. So many customers simply have trouble getting the data that they need back in any kind of central repository to do something useful with it. I think that's sort of the fundamental underlying challenge, and then being able to do that in a very reliable, very secure way. So these are all challenges that we've been working on. How do you make easy to deploy hardware that can connect to any kind of device? How do you get secure, centralized data collection? How do you build out mobile-ready dashboards that work out of the box? And then how do you build out APIs to make sure that data is portable to any system? I think those end up being a lot of the keys to solving some of those challenges. And there haven't been too many folks in the industry that have successfully tackled all of those. And I think that's been an underlying challenge across the automation market. You have people that have been building hardware, and then you have people that have been building software. And rarely do you have folks that are doing both of those. So you can kind of seamlessly cross between that hardware-software divide, really needed to connect up these legacy assets and do something useful with that data.
Are you seeing any vendors that are able to make that transition?
I think it's a big focus for a lot of the market. You have the sort of legacy hardware providers that are, investing in software. They're acquiring software companies, and sort of trying to bring more modern interfaces to what has frankly been some relatively complex configuration. And then I see a lot of software companies that don't want to get into hardware, right? So they're bringing analytics engines and software tools to customers and essentially saying, give us your data and we'll do something interesting with it. Well, the challenge is most customers can't actually just hand over their data because they don't have a good way to collect it.
So speaking of that, what are some of the challenges that your customers are facing right now?
Sort of on a similar theme, a lot of our customers have just run off traditionally complex systems. So they give their operations managers, insights into their equipment, their pumps, their tank levels, their operating lines, and they work from a control standpoint. But as businesses have moved into this operating mantra of wanting to get all their operational data to make actual business decisions, they've run into a wall of not being able to get the data out to do anything actionable with it. And then sort of combined with that, a lot of customers still have a tremendous amount of manual data collection, whether you're looking at operating efficiency, production metrics, uptime or downtime. There's a lot of clipboards with, pen and paper and whiteboards sort of tracking day-to-day production. So if you kind of combine those two things together, just that complexity of seeing your holistic business is really hard to pull together for most customers. So if we can simplify that architecture with cloud connected hardware and out of the box, cloud software that works on mobile devices and any other interface, it means that customers can sort of simply plug into their existing systems, whatever those systems might be, and instantly start seeing operational data, running reports, getting alerts from anywhere. I see that as being the biggest consistent challenge that we run into, and we're trying to tackle that one head on.
225,000. That's how many page views the Industrial Automation Exchange pulled in last year. What's more, 75% of them were unique. What does that mean for you? Simple. If you are a system integrator or supplier who is not maximizing your presence on the exchange, you are missing out on this traffic and the collective authority of this digital marketing powerhouse. The good news? The exchange offers upgrades, packages, and display advertising opportunities to ensure your brand is top of mind during your customers' complicated, research-based buying journey. To learn more about packages and upgrades, visit www.csiexchange.com/packages. To learn more about advertising opportunities, visit www.csiexchange.com/display. Let's face it, it's a digital world out there and you need to ensure your company doesn't get left behind. Let the exchange go to work for you. Tell me a little bit about your SI partner program.
Sure. The systems integrator partner program is critical to our growth, and we're investing pretty heavily in making sure that we have a leading program for SIs. Our expertise is really building incredible industrial IoT technology, but it's the SIs who bring just decades of experience in making new technologies, operational in sort of the toughest customer environments. And we need that extension of our business to ensure that we can be successful with customers and that customers really get value out of the technology that we're building. So we focused our partner program on bringing both immediate value as well as long-term value to our SI partners. On the sort of the immediate value side, we often get feedback that we're one of the few manufacturers they work with that actively bring leads and customer opportunities to our partners rather than just waiting for them to sell our stuff. And that's a motion that, I saw work very well back in my days at Meraki in the IT world is, if we can really bring our sales and marketing expertise to bear in a way that benefits partners, that obviously builds a mutually beneficial relationship. So that's sort of the first piece. And then, our partner program has a lot of the traditional elements like offering, resale or referral margin to partners. We have a technical training program that we've launched recently and we're pretty excited about. But we're really also trying to bring a bit of a fresh approach to SIs based off the potential for industrial IoT and digital transformation to really have, positive change on the traditional SI business model. So we sort of see three key ways in which we are hopefully helping to change that business model for the better for our SI partners. The first one is by making industrial IoT accessible and user-friendly. We've made digital transformation feasible for much bigger set of customers and verticals where it was probably too complex historically. And that should grow the total addressable market for our SI partners. Second, we're working to make remote monitoring very simple to install and simple to use. And we found that a lot of SI partners can now use us as a platform on which to build managed services and get higher profitability and recurring margins out of that ongoing service. And then, I think the sort of third way we're tackling this is by both simplifying the technology stack and obsessing over customer service. We're accelerating the sales process so that SIs can quickly, demo new technology and deploy our technology in a shorter amount of time, and thereby service more customers and hopefully increase their revenue.
Okay, so let's take a minute and kind of talk about the history of how Samsara began and how it evolved into the automation industry.
The company was started a little over 4 years ago by John and Sanjit, and these were two folks that actually originally founded Meraki, the company I mentioned previously. And they started Samsara on the premise that some fundamental technology shifts were happening, and that by creating easy to deploy, easy to manage sensors, they could bring some game-changing technology to market. And that was sort of a broad vision early on that relatively quickly morphed into a set of solutions for vehicle fleet tracking. Our first product being telematics GPS gateway that was really based off of modern smartphone technology. And we could sort of take advantage of some of the advances in cloud compute and cheap sensors and pervasive cellular availability. So that really got us started in fleet management. And from there, we iterated pretty quickly and built out sort of a whole suite of products based on customer feedback. So from telematics, we added dash cams, we added driver logging and driver apps. And that business just skyrocketed over the past few years, helping transportation customers reduce accidents, decrease fuel usage, and really create more efficient workflows. So that business has grown to serve over 10,000 customers in a pretty short amount of time. But based on that feedback, similar to the customer feedback that led us into building more and more fleet management features, our customers also started asking us about automation. They saw the technology that we were bringing to fleet and started talking about remote monitoring, started talking about manufacturing efficiency. So we saw an opportunity based around that same set of technologies and an appetite on behalf of our customers that we could sort of bring those to market. So we partnered with a handful of our customers, and the industrial business unit was born out of that, really with a focus on utilities and energy companies originally, and then expanding into manufacturing as well. So today, within the industrial business unit, our products are solving operational pain points across a handful of verticals: manufacturing, utilities, oil and gas, really helping customers with the goals of improving their efficiency, reducing equipment downtime, and simply giving them better visibility on their operations to make more informed decisions.
What makes Samsara optimistic about the future of the automation industry?
There's a lot to be optimistic about. I'm personally pretty fascinated by this space, and I think there's a lot of strong sort of historical technology here, but seeing the technology shifts happen right now and the speed at which customers are adopting some of these new technologies makes me pretty optimistic that we're going to have a huge impact on simplifying customers' operations, helping them save money and speeding up deployment time. So really going beyond simply using automation for control functionality, but getting far more business insights out of those operations. And you're seeing just more top-down business interest or leadership interest in how to take advantage of this data. So I think the market is ready for a change. And then when we get out and talk to customers and talk to partners and are able to show a more simple approach to getting some of this data and connecting assets, we just see customers' eyes light up, and they start thinking about the possibilities of how they can evolve their business model, how they can evolve their operations with it. So that's always a good sign. And I think just as we spend a lot of time out in the market with customers and partners, we know that folks are excited about the technology shifts happening. And there's a huge hunger and appetite to figure out how they can sort of bring those in-house, how they can pilot new technology, how they can scale it. So I think that interest on behalf of our customers makes me optimistic that there continues to be a big investment in the automation space, but that investment is also shifting to some more modern technologies. And that really gives SIs an opportunity to go be thought leaders in the space with our customers. And, obviously we're hoping to partner with SIs on that technology.
If you had to put a number on the IIoT space in terms of a dollar amount, what would you estimate the market is?
It's a huge market. There's lots of reports out there that put sort of industrial automation and IIoT at roughly $100 billion market globally, probably about a $30 billion market in the US alone.
And you think we're just beginning to tap into that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of spend on existing industrial automation products, but that is accelerating and changing as people get more comfortable with IIoT and the direction that the market's going in. So I'm hugely optimistic that we are just at the sort of early stages of a pretty big technology shift happening across the space.
So when you're at cocktail parties and people ask you what you do, how do you describe it to them?
That's a great question. I think in one sentence, the Samsara Industrial team is building cloud-connected hardware and software to help industrial customers get better operational visibility and better control over their assets, so they can digitize manual processes. I can tell you, at cocktail parties, that one's really a hit.
Yeah, I can imagine. Help us understand what's unique about how you approach a project.
So I think one of the things that is unique about Samsara's approach, and this is both to working with customers directly, but more so for us about how we build products and how we build technology. One of the core principles is to ship fast and get a lot of feedback from customers along the way. One of the benefits of a cloud managed technology means that you can iterate quickly and continuously push out enhancements and new features to customers. So that means that we can deliver new functionality very quickly. The intent of getting something in front of the customer, getting their feedback, and aggregating that feedback across the whole customer base so that we can quickly make it better. So this is pretty different for customers who haven't necessarily worked with us or worked in this model and are used to buying a product and there's no improvement to that product until they buy the next model. So I think that's something that means that we can ultimately create a much faster and more scalable product that is both tailored to customers and really sort of learns based on use patterns and where people get the most value out of it. So we take that customer feedback really seriously and we build it into the platform. So not only do we get feedback, when our account teams speak to customers and so on, but any customer can provide feedback directly in the platform, and those messages go directly to our engineering team. So that keeps, it lets us keep a really good pulse on what matters most, what are the types of features, what are the types of changes that customers want to see, and then we can prioritize our engineering roadmap based on that. And that always ends up sort of delighting customers to see their suggestions coming to fruition pretty quickly.
So expand on that a little bit and tell us why your customers return to you project after project.
So I think a big part of that is this feedback loop. We do a lot of sort of in-person collaborative events with customers. We host them in our office or, we spend time out on site with them. And that's certainly one way of giving customers a sense of sort of ownership and collaboration on the products that we're bringing to market. But then also this sense that you can, on a dashboard on your screen, you can hit a feedback button, type in feedback about a certain chart or a certain report, and that will go directly to an engineering team. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, you actually see that feature appear on your dashboard. That builds a really strong sense of loyalty and a strong sense of excitement about what's possible with the platform. So I think that, combined with the fact that we just deliver these features in a pretty rapid process means that customers are excited about the direction where this is going, keep coming back to us for expansions or with ideas for other parts of the business we can help them connect.
So when you say rapid, give me a sense of what that means, like 10 weeks? I don't know if you get this feedback, how quickly can it be incorporated into the product?
It depends on the feature and it depends if you're talking about hardware or software, but we work on a 2 to 3 week release cycle. So we're continuously pushing out new features in that time frame. So if you're looking for, different types of reports or a different way of viewing your data, that kind of feature can get pushed out very quickly. So when you have a meeting with a customer and then you go back, 2 weeks later and you actually show them that their feedback is incorporated and live in the system, that's usually a pretty jaw-dropping type of feedback cycle. And, I think really gets people excited about what's possible.
From a supplier perspective, how should a customer go about choosing a system integrator?
So that's a great question. And I know there's a lot of folks who are part of CSIA that I'm sure have strong opinions on this one. From our perspective, our recommendation to customers is obviously choose an SI that has been trained by the supplier on the technology, knows the technology in question, has proven deployments with that technology. And then we also suggest that customers look for SIs that can navigate the sort of fine middle ground between urgency and very strong project management. On one hand, we need SI partners who use their decades of experience to deliver just very robust project management methodologies, are proven to deliver sort of customer success. On the other hand, with some of this modern technology, we need SI partners who can work within this sort of new paradigm of fast feedback and fast delivery on new features and pair that up with their project management. The ability to go in with a very strong plan, to work closely with the supplier, to understand the roadmap and the direction that this product is going in, and then guide a customer on, how to get the most value out of that. And then all of that wrapped in sort of simple pricing and sort of backed up by transparent and timely communications, I think is pretty important. So it's not combining those two skills of decades of industrial automation project management with this sort of fast feedback loop of modern software, I think is a bit of an evolution within the control and automation space, but it's certainly a journey that I think a lot of SIs are on, and it's pretty important for customers.
So without naming names, unless you want to, tell us about a project that was super challenging and what you did to solve the customer's problem.
So we've obviously worked across hundreds of customers with our focus in water utilities, oil and gas manufacturing, and then the sort of general equipment as a service space. I think probably the best example and a customer that we've worked with for a while is San Jose Water Company. And we have a case study on these folks, so I can actually speak about it. We've been working with them for a couple of years, and they've used a handful of different products from us, starting with using some of our asset monitors to monitor their mobile generators, and then that really moved into helping them get better visibility on their pumps and pump stations and tanks. And they've got a great SCADA system, but one of the issues was that they just needed better business information about those assets. They wanted to use it for their asset planning. They wanted to understand pump efficiency. They wanted to be able to better optimize their operations and not just control their operations. So they approached us with this challenge around how to better track a metric called OPE, or overall pump efficiency. And it's basically a formula they use to determine how well their pumps are doing across each of their different remote sites. Are they running efficiently, or do they need maintenance, or do they need to be potentially replaced if they're running at a very low efficiency? For a water utility, a huge part of their expense is electricity costs from pumping. So knowing pump efficiency is a very important operational statistic for them. So when we dug into this challenge, we found out that, like most utilities, this data point was collected manually. And once a year, somebody would go out and spend a couple hours at a pump and take down power usage, some pressures, some flows, and so on. And that was really dependent on being on site at the time that the pump was running and be able to collect that data. And you can imagine, across hundreds of remote sites, often the technician would show up, and for whatever reason that morning the pump wasn't running, so they wouldn't get their readings. So they end up with pump efficiencies for all the different pumps that might be a year out of date or might be 2 years out of date. And their ask of us was, how can we see real-time pump efficiency? So this was a challenge that we took to heart, and we're able to give them easy remote connectivity where we could pull power, we could pull flow and pressure and so on. And then we sort of worked with them to understand the calculations around pump efficiency. And what came out of it is we built a pretty flexible formula feature that, if you're looking for pump efficiency, you can put that formula in. But if you have different business KPIs, you can use whatever formula you want to create this flexible metric. So now we can give them, real-time data. Each pump is pulling in a handful of different data points. You've got a pump efficiency calculation so that you can see a time series chart of that pump efficiency in real time. You can compare their hundreds of pumps against one another, and they can use that for their annual asset planning, figuring out what pumps they want to replace, or simply prioritizing maintenance and what pump to run given a certain condition. So I think this one, it was a challenge, but it was a sort of classic example of partnering with a customer using the foundational technology that we had, and then getting their feedback on really where they wanted to see that software go, and delivering a feature that not only works for them, but is also scalable across a whole bunch of other sort of business analytics applications.
Yeah, that sounds super powerful. Let's talk about maybe a mistake that you made and what you learned from it.
So this one, maybe is playing to the CSIA audience a little bit, but I think early in the journey here in Samsara Industrial, we didn't realize the importance of systems integrators in the industrial automation space. And this is something that I personally should have known better. I spent years working at Meraki, building up a channel sales team and sort of understanding the value of integrators in the technology world. But hindsight is always 2020. So since then, we've doubled down on our channel program. We're investing heavily in offering technical training to SIs. We're actively bringing opportunities to partners so that we can build that relationship. And we're ensuring our entire team knows how to work effectively with partners, just because we've seen how critical identifying good partners and bringing them to the table with our customers, just how critical that is to the success of customer deployments. So that was certainly a mistake, but I think we're in the process of changing course on this one, and I'm pretty excited about what we've learned.
Finally, what's the best advice you could give your younger self when you were just getting started?
Good question. There's always lots of advice out there, I suppose. I think for me, it's the advice I give is find interesting problems to work on, surround yourself with motivated, really smart people, and you just can't go wrong if you do that.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you are interested in learning more about Samsara, you can find them on the Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiaexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Pete, for joining me today. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help others find us by sharing your favorite episodes with colleagues. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com for the music bumpers. Until next time.